Yo, yo, yo. Hey guys, welcome back to another awesome edition of the Best Practices Show podcast. It is Monday at the beginning of another week. Every Monday, and I do mean every Monday, we do something called Metric Mondays. Our goal is to give you a metric and help you understand why it's important so that you can go back to your practice and make an impact and create a better practice and a better life. And today is one of my favorite metrics of all time. It's called unscheduled active patients. Now, here's a warning. You're going to get chest pain when you start to look at this number. But here's the good stuff. Once you look at it and you know why and you start to improve it, it makes everything better. And I have my amazing co-host on. Her name is Miranda Beeson. She shows us what it is, how it impacts the practice, and how to improve it today. So please listen up. Hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Best Practices Show podcast. And guess what? It's the beginning of the week. I hope you enjoy the beginnings of your weeks. You know, well, they don't have to be perfect, but like going to work on a Monday, you're like, okay, it's Monday. I get to do this. And guess what we get to do? We get to hang out with you guys because you're listening to the podcast. And every Monday we do something called Metric Mondays. We came up with this idea. I don't know who came up with the idea, but it's a great idea. And we're watching some of the metrics and you guys are paying attention. The whole idea was to give you a bite-sized piece of a metric on a Monday, something that you could actually use as a layup. And if you didn't listen to last week's, you got to listen to last week's. It's an easy one. And this one's going to be an easy one too. And I have my co-host. She's brilliant. She's a director of education, one of the amazing coaches here, great friend, and a great thinker. And you're going to see that in a minute. Her name is Miranda Beeson. Miranda, welcome back. Happy Monday.
Thanks, Kirk. Happy Monday to you. I am hopeful. I love that you said you get to do this. It's Monday. I get to go to work. I get to go be in my practice. I hope that these podcasts make everyone's life a little bit better at work so that you do feel that way instead of I have to go. If nothing else, we just want to be helpful and make sure that you feel excited about showing up in your practice and good about what you're building. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I feel extra blessed too because this is all we do. We talk about this stuff all the time, but I'm telling you guys, like I'm a CE junkie. I'm going to learn a ton of stuff today. I hope you do too. And today we're going to be taking you down a path and it's called unscheduled active patients. This is one of my favorites. So Miranda, give us a little background. What is this?
So unscheduled active patients is the number, so the count, or it can be measured by percentage of active patients who do not have a future appointment scheduled. And I love this metric and that we're talking about it today because we talk about active patient count quite a bit. And we've shared that we want to have between 1,200 and 1,500 active patients per full-time provider. And we know that number varies a little bit based on the practice style. We will get together and, I have this many active patients and I have that many active patients. Or I remember being in a practice that was buying another practice and like, oh my gosh, they have 4,000 active patients and thinking about how much opportunity that was. But the reality is that active patient count is one thing, but there's a whole nother layer of reality behind it when you look at how many of those active patients are actually scheduled versus aren't. So this is the number that's telling us unscheduled active patients, people that are in that active patient count. Maybe they're within that 12 to 1,500 of active patients that you have, but they do not have a future appointment. They don't have hygiene. They don't have restorative. They have nothing. They're just kind of floating in the abyss of your unscheduled list.
Yeah. Now this is one of my favorite because it's painful when you look at this number and you've never looked at it before. I'm just going to warn you. But there's so much opportunity. It is truly a layup in dentistry. So I'll give you a story. One of our favorite clients of all time, I asked him, I'm like, do you know that number? He didn't. He looked it up and it was like 782. And he's like, I have chest pain. I want you to think about this. These are people that like you. They've already been to your practice. They've already paid for your services, but somehow they're floating in the universe. They are active. They've been in your practice in the last 18 months and they're not tethered to the practice. All you have to do is go from 782 to 682 to 582 to 482. And I promise all of your hygienists will come to you and go, stop. Stop. I have nowhere to put these people that already like us. I can't do this. Instead, you're out trying to do Facebook ads and come up with a campaign to find all these new people that have never been to your practice. I'm joking with you, but like this is huge in your practice. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And we see this all the time where, you have openings in your schedule or capacity is starting to slip, or it seems like our diagnostic percentage, the patients we're able to diagnose, it's slowly dying down. And when you stop and look at it, is it because you're seeing the same 750 patients and the other 750 just aren't even in your schedule anymore? So a high number of unscheduled patients, active patients, can lead to gaps in the schedule, certainly lost revenue. And then we always like to tie these metrics to patient care. The other thing it does, it's missed opportunities for preventative care. When we have patients who are out there floating around in the universe, untethered to our practice, we don't have the potential to see them on a regular basis and catch small things or even just prevent things from occurring. We're going to see them when they call us eventually and they have an emergency. So when you think about this metric, if you're a one doctor practice, you have 1,500 active patients and you have 50% of them, like you run this report and you say, oh my gosh, I have 750 of these active patients that don't have a scheduled appointment. That just tells us that we have a whole lot of manpower ahead of us to try to get these patients back in the practice. Now, in reality, you're never going to have 100% of your active patients scheduled. There's always going to be some patients on your unscheduled active patient list, more than likely. But the lower that number is, the less work and effort we have to put in on the other end of trying to get them back into the practice, or we're scrambling reactively when we start to see things showing up like the gaps in the schedule or capacity challenges. So if you have 1,500 patients and you have just 200 of them that are unscheduled, you still want to work your follow-up systems, but it's not nearly as big of an impact on your practice than if you're at 50% or 60% unscheduled. If you look at that active patient value, like again, I mentioned earlier, I used to work for a practice and we were going to be purchasing another practice. Maybe you're at this place in your practice where you're approaching retirement in the next handful of years and you're feeling really good. Like, okay, we're a one doctor practice. We have 1,800 active patients. You're thinking that's going to look really attractive to a buyer. But if somebody a broker digs into your metrics and sees that you have 1,800 active patients, but you only have 800 that are scheduled moving forward, that really does decrease the value of your practice because the amount of work and time and effort and money that's going to have to be spent to recall those patients back in. And what we know from some industry data is when a patient leaves without scheduling, over time, approximately 40% of those patients, unless you're really aggressively working some follow-up systems, they never come back. And so we're going to lean in later. What are some things you can do to try to recover that if we do see that this number is low? But if you don't pay attention to the number and you don't even know this is happening and you don't have any countermeasures in place, the data shows us in our industry of dentistry that about 40% of those patients just don't ever return. Or if and when they do, it's with an emergency. And that's going to cause chaos in your schedule. So if we can keep ahead of this, we're going to have more predictability with future revenue. We're going to have less gaps in our schedule. We'll have less chaos in our schedule when we have these same day emergencies calling on a regular basis, because we're doing a better job of keeping the patient's oral health outcomes front of mind, being preventative, seeing them consistently on a customized rhythm that supports what they need.
Yeah, it's so important you say that. I like you said at the beginning, the number one thing is like it improves the health of our patients. So if you can get really clear about the why, number one, we're going to keep these people tethered to the practice. Number two, we're going to keep them healthy. Number three, we're going to reduce the drag on our practice. Like it puts a lot of pressure on the recare system in your practice to get these people back. And there's no better time to do it while they're in the office. You know what I mean? So that's the first place to tighten up your systems is like, how do we keep these people connected to our team? So again, knowing the numbers, the first part, and then talking about it with your team about what we do and then coming up with a plan, I promise you, it makes a huge impact in your practice. Now, like every Metric Monday, Miranda, what if I do what I'm a listener. I'm listening to this podcast. I'm driving to the office. I pull it. And mine's also 782 and I have chest pain. Give me some countermeasures. What can I do to impact this metric positively?
Well, the first thing is just align with your team and create an expectation, if it hasn't been there before, to pre-schedule our patients for their next visit. That every time a patient is walking out of the operatory, whether it's restorative or hygiene, the team member knows to look and ensure that they have a next visit scheduled. And if they don't, we're going to make it before they leave our operatory. And if for some reason we're stuck and maybe it's a whole family that needs to schedule, then in that handoff to our administrative team member, when we're stopping at the front, we're going to say, and we do want to make sure we have Mrs. Jones back for her next visit. I haven't had an opportunity to schedule that just yet. But everybody on the team knows that they're looking before that patient leaves because the expectation is they have a next visit scheduled. And as long as they have a next visit scheduled, they're never going to show up on this unscheduled active patient list, and they are tethered to our practice. We will have another opportunity to connect and communicate and serve that patient. The other thing is aligning when we're doing that. We have to first have the expectation that every patient leaves with the next visit scheduled. But then we also have to align around the language. How do we make sure that our team is using language that really builds value in that next visit so that the patient is going to be more inclined to keep it and show up and not cancel last minute? And so talking about our next appointment with personalized communication, like what is it that we're doing and how is that next visit going to be important to the patient? Maybe it's a hygiene visit. And all we have to do is celebrate and say, Mrs. Jones, we've reserved that next visit for you in April. And I'm so excited to see you so we can celebrate how well you're doing again with your home care. This routine, this regimen of care of every 4 months is working really well. So I'll be seeing you again then. And we're confirming that it's with me. There's a reason that's not just because you're due or because I'm supposed to schedule you and that's our process here. It's because you're receiving a benefit patient. Your health is better than it's ever been. So let's make sure we go ahead and reserve the next time too, so that we can keep helping you in this way. And just using that language that makes sure that they know there's something in it for them, and it's going to make them more likely to keep that visit. And then there's just a reality to the fact that some people can't pre-schedule. Maybe they live in a different place or they're having a surgery or who knows. Maybe they think they're moving and then they end up not moving. Or they cancel and they can't for some reason, because you should definitely try to reschedule anyone that cancels in the moment. But for some reason they can't. You should have follow-up systems that aren't reactive to openings in the schedule, but instead proactively part of your administrative team's daily and weekly checklists. So we're calling those hygiene recare lists. We're calling our unscheduled treatment lists. Maybe you're just running this unscheduled active patient list and making sure we've made points of contact with these people. Because if we're not reaching out and customizing and personalizing our outreach, they will just escape into the abyss, at least 40% of them never to be seen again.
Yeah. I love how you said that. Now, if you're going to listen to anybody, listen to Miranda. But the reason you have to follow what she shared with you is that, again, doing this for more than 30 years, typically there's two challenges with this. Number one, people say, would you like to make your next appointment or maybe not? You know, it's very weak and no, I don't. And then in that you can hear next appointment. Like, number one, don't ask somebody if they want to make their next appointment. Tell them we're going to, and that. And then I don't ever want to go back to anyone just because it's the next appointment ever. Now, she said it so well, but if you're listening to this podcast, you know who you are. It's like the next appointment. No. I don't want to go.
You'll be due again in 6 months.
Yeah.
Is what we usually hear. You'll be due again in 6 months, or you're due again
for
in
what?
4 months. Yes. Ariel, one of our coaches, always says that. Due for what? And instead, you mentioned so that. I love that. So that we can keep building on these gains that we've made through your scaling and route planning service. We'll see you back in 3 months, and that's going to be with me so that we can look together at the progress that you've made and really personalizing that next visit so that there's more value to it.
Love it. I think you would agree if you're listening. Verbal skills matter. And it starts with your belief at the top about how important these are. Get your team involved, engaged. And when they get good at understanding the why and adding the verbal skills, and then you're looking at the data, everything gets better. So, Miranda, that was amazing. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No last thoughts. All patients matter. So make sure you're nurturing every single one of them.
There you have it. I feel like I got to timestamp this one again. 13 minutes, 59 seconds, Metric Monday. Bam. Our goal, short, podcast with some substance. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Miranda, thank you as always. And stick around when we say goodbye to everybody else. But thank you guys for listening. We're going to keep bringing it. So if you need more help, feel free to go back into the Best Practices Association. We're adding resources all the time back there. You can join us for our To the Top Study Club, which is our doctors only study club. If you want to come for free, we have something that's called the Golden Ticket. I'm happy to give you one. And if you've tried everything, and you're like, I've tried everything, this is just not working. We have coaches. We have amazing coaches that make it happen for you. And we're here to help you every step of the way. So hope you guys enjoy your Monday. And until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep watching or keep listening to the Best Practices Show. Have a great day, everybody.